Hey everyone, I am your astrologer Wonder Girl, taking you to new heights. This is your astrology horoscope for the full moon in Aquarius, which happens on Friday, July 23rd, 2021 at 10:36 p.m. Eastern Time or 7:36 p.m. Pacific Time, depending upon which time zone you are in. Now, what I think this full moon is really all about is about us liberating ourselves from a lot of old, hard things that have been keeping us stuck for a while. And feeling more free. Not only is it about us liberating ourselves from old things, but I think it's also about us being more open about what we've been going through over the course of the past few months and years with other people as well, to let them in on our process. And I think it's also about us to create even more things in our lives that we feel more authentically resonate with us. It could be, sure, a little frustrating at times because we may have to be very humble about our experiences as we speak about these things, and be a little bit more realistic about what is meant for us from here on out. But by and large, on the whole, I love this full moon in Aquarius. I think it's very positive, and I think we're going to get over that pretty quickly, or more easily for us, in order so that we can move on. Okay. So that's what I'm going to say there. Now, before I get into it, I do just want to note, however, that I am having some major computer problems. All of a sudden at this time, I think I fried my hard drive on my computer because it's having it just doesn't have enough CPU, I think, to keep up with the video and the audio. So at times this video may be a little bit slow, or the audio may lag. I think the video is going to lag behind the audio here. That could be a bit hard. Just know that I'm doing my best to minimize those issues and to fix them as soon as possible. It's just going to take me a few days to get an appointment at the store and to figure out what I want to do. So thank you so much for hanging in there with me. I apologize. I know what's going on, and I apologize for that. I also want to note too that because I am having a lot of technical difficulties, that this video is going to be a lot less tech savvy and maybe a little bit shorter as I work through some things. Okay. But now that that's out of the way, let's go ahead and let's hop in. The first thing that I like to do in these videos is, of course, place on the chart what it is that I'm referring to so that you can see it and follow along. So I'm going to do that now. This chart is for the full moon in Aquarius. The full moon obviously relates to the moon, so we're going to look at that. Here's the moon in this chart, 1 degree Aquarius, and it's making an opposition over here to the sun at 1 degree Leo, which is exactly opposite it. When the moon opposes the sun, that is what is considered a full moon, which is what this video is for. Okay. What are full moons all about? Well, full moons are all about taking something as far as it can go, because that is when the moon is the furthest from the sun, and stepping into it or completing something. Not only are full moons about taking something as far as we can go and stepping into what we've been working towards and completing it, but also it's about bringing things to light and seeing things that we didn't see before, perhaps, especially because a full moon is when the moon is the brightest in the sky. Okay, so that's a lot of the themes that are going on at this time. What more specifically are those themes? Well, now I have to look at Aquarius, the sign that the full moon is in. Okay. Aquarius is a lot about freedom from things that have been keeping us stuck and liberating ourselves. So what that means to me is that one of the things that we are stepping into at this time and getting more insight on is how we can free ourselves from old things that have been keeping us stuck so that we can move forward. Okay. So there's a lot of that. Not only is Aquarius about that, but Aquarius is a lot about the public in a lot of ways, a larger audience and friendship. So another thing that could be going on at this full moon in Aquarius is not only that we're liberating ourselves even more fully stepping into our freedom and liberation from old things that have been keeping us stuck, but we're also more fully full moon expressing more openly to a larger audience, especially friends here, about what's been going on within our soul over the course of the past few months, especially 6 months and years that maybe we were keeping private and to ourselves. Okay, so that's also a theme. And I think the last theme that really comes out to me as well is that not only is Aquarius about those things, but it's also as well about authenticity, being true to our authentic self and our individual truth and who we are uniquely. So another thing to me that's also happening at this full moon in Aquarius is that we're stepping even more fully into our own unique truth and our own unique way of living life, as dictated by our own soul as well, especially now that we are breaking free from a lot of old things that have been keeping us stuck and speaking more openly about who it is that we really are and what's been going on. Okay, so I think those are the main themes for me that come up during this time period, for which this video is for. But before I explain more about those themes and how they're going to more fully play out as time goes on, I do want to go back in time for a little bit before going forward, just to give you the context of how we got here and of why this is now a theme that's coming up to be worked through in some way. And to go back to give you that context, I want to go to the last solar eclipse, which was a new moon in Sagittarius right about here at the end of December of last year, December 2020. Okay. I want to go back to that because that was a pretty big deal that I think we're still feeling at this time and still tying up. Okay. What was that about? Well, in my opinion, it was about us stepping into a new moon solar eclipse, better Sagittarius chapter of life, away from a lot of trauma, abuse, karma, and hardship that has plagued us for many years prior to that point, December of 2020. Okay. And I really did like it. But even though in December of 2020, we stepped into a new and better chapter in life, I do believe that in January at the new moon in Capricorn, we had difficulty more fully accessing that new chapter in life that really did arrive. What was the difficulty? Well, in January of 2021, this year, I do believe it was a lot of low confidence and self-esteem, self-sabotage, feelings of victimization, and perhaps addictions in some way that were still lingering, that were preventing us from moving forward, that were a problem. Not only did we have problems in January with those things, but I think we also had problems in February too at the new moon in Aquarius. The problems we had in February were that we still overly identified with the old hard chapters of life that were really on their way out, and that there may have still been some old things in our life that were kind of gone, but kind of still around, that we didn't fully cut the cords on in some way that it is that we needed also hard. Okay, preventing us again from the December blessings. Okay, because both of those things were hard and were stopping us. I think at the new moon in Pisces in March, we then realized that we need to fix all of that. We needed to fix all of that and heal more of that so we can move forward. And I do believe that we did in March. The middle of March, I should note, and onwards, make some good adjustments to overcome the blockages to the better chapter in life. And because we did that in April at the new moon in Aries, which is the first new moon of the astrological new year, we finally were able to more fully, in the realness, step into that new chapter in life more tangibly that actually did arrive in December of 2020. Okay, and to move forward on that. Okay, because we were finally in the new chapter in life that was promised in December here in April, we then in May, the middle of May at that new moon in Taurus here, tried to sustain the new and better chapter in life that arrived. So that we could really hold on to it and nurture it and cultivate it more so that it could become something even bigger and better. But as we're really trying to sustain the new chapter in life that arrived, I think, at the full moon lunar eclipse, also, I believe, in May or June. It was like right around there, May or June. We realized that we were having problems still sustaining the new chapter in life that had more fully arrived. What were the problems sustaining that new chapter in life that came up at that lunar eclipse in Sagittarius in May, June? It was still some things from the past, I think, in particularly January and February of this year that hadn't fully been resolved. So after that lunar eclipse, we went back to resolve these old issues that were still preventing us from moving forward. And we went back to resolve these things in June now at the new moon solar eclipse in Gemini, with a drastically new thought process and perspective on these old things, so that we can overcome them. And this new perspective we got in June did help us finally to overcome the blockages, so that now we get to the new moon in Cancer that we had in July, so that in July we could finally ground more fully, more completely the new chapter in life life, so that it can take root, in a more positive and healthy way. Not only in July did we finally start to root the new chapter in life without this old baggage still bringing us down, but we also started to feel differently as well, and much better about our lives too, now that the old hardship had been kicked and we were moving on. And because in July, we finally, the beginning of July, we're still in July, but because the beginning of July, we were able to more fully ground a new chapter in life without the old baggage, and feel much differently and better about our lives, and happier and easier and lighter because we were in a different place. Now, this full moon, of which this video is for here, back to Aquarius, we're feeling finally more free and more liberated from these old karmic cycles of the past. Sure, from some of the old karmic cycles that persisted over the course of the past 6 months since December of 2020, but I think that persisted for many months and years even prior to that. We're now feeling more free and more liberated, and like we are wiping our hands clean of a lot of that old stuff that has been keeping us stuck. Not only are we feeling more liberated from that, but we're also feeling that now, because we're more free from this old baggage, like we're less emotional, Aquarius, less emotional about it, and can finally speak more openly to other people outside of the little bubble that we've been dealing with over the course of the past few months, to let them in on our process and to let them in on what's been going on within us in the ways that we need, so that we can feel more understood, if you will. Not only during this time period are we speaking more openly about what we've been dealing with in private as we fix some things, but we're also now finally feeling more able to create even more things in our lives that more truly resonate with our authentic truth and our authentic soul, without a lot of the complications that may have persisted over the course of the past 6 months and years, especially in the past few years as well. Okay, and that's it. That's what I think is going on during this time period. Okay, just to repeat all of that before I move forward, what I think is going on at this full moon in Aquarius is that we are finally liberating ourselves from a lot of old hard things, and from really the transition out of the old hard things and into something new and different. And us liberating ourselves from those old things is helping us to feel more free, a lot less emotional. That's a key, a lot less emotional, and a lot more able to express more openly with other people what's been going on within us. Not only is it helping us to express more openly to other people what's been going on within us, but it's also helping us to create even more things from here on out that we really enjoy in life, and that really truly resonate with us in a less complicated way, that we need to bring even more things together in our lives to move on. Okay, I think that's it. All right, those are the main points. And again, just to say a few words now, again, this to me feels like a three-parter, maybe a four-parter, but definitely a three-parter full moon. I know the new moon in Cancer to me felt 3 parts. This one kind of does as well. And I just want to say those one more time. The 3 parts to this full moon is the one, we're freeing and liberating ourselves finally in body, spirit, and soul from a lot of old hard things from the past. Number 2, we're communicating more openly about these things we've been liberating ourselves from, because now we're done with them. And number 3, we're creating even more things in our life that are more authentic to us in a more uncomplicated, a less complicated way from here on out. So it's all 3, which again do feel a little bit like a progression. Okay, if I had to add a 4th one that came to me while I was saying all that, perhaps the 4th point about this full moon in Aquarius is also that because we're liberating ourselves from a lot of these old things, we're feeling less emotional or less conflicted emotionally about what's going on as well. That is also helping us to move things forward. Okay, so that's it. Now that I have given you the main themes there, I am going to erase the chart and go a little bit more in detail about this in particular. Okay, and I guess I'm going to start here with the only major alignment that this full moon is going to make. So let me put it back on the chart. Here's the full moon. Sorry, I do see that the visuals are a little bit slow at the moment. I'm aware. But here's the full moon on the chart, and really the main aspect that this full moon is making is going to be a quincunx over here to Venus in Virgo. All right, now this is a little bit of a challenge here because it is a quincunx, which is technically a hard aspect, and because Venus is in Virgo, where it does not like to be. Venus doesn't really care for Virgo. Why doesn't Venus care for Virgo? Well, because Venus is a lot about beauty and ease and comfort. It's also a lot about relationships, especially the good type of relationships where things are more balanced and fair. And it's also about our own sense of self-worth. And Virgo is a bit critical. It's a bit critical of itself, of other people, of what's going on, and a bit of a perfectionist, and requires a lot of like hard work in some way. So this can be a little bit difficult. How? Now to translate that into what's going on, to fit that into the larger picture here. How is this difficult? Well, Virgo is a sign of humility because it does require here a little bit more honesty about the situation and about what's going on. So what that means to me here is that part of what could be really difficult at this full moon in Aquarius is that we really do need to liberate ourselves from more old things and feel more free and communicate more openly with other people about what's been going on here. But it can be hard for us to do that. It can be hard for us to especially communicate with other people more openly what we've been going through. Why could it be hard for us to communicate more openly with other people about what we've been going through? Because I think what we've been going through over the course of the past few months and years has been very deep, and very intense, and very challenging in a lot of ways. So for us now with this full moon in Aquarius to liberate ourselves more from old things and to have to speak about what's been going on within our soul that we've been really private about for the past 6 months can require a certain amount of humility here. Humility about who we really are and about what we've really been dealing with as we open up more. So that can be hard. There may be a bit of swallowing of the pride, swallowing of the pride here, especially with the Aquarius influence opposite the Leo stuff, in order for us to more fully close out some old things, close out some old cycles, and to communicate with people what's been going on. Not only could this be a little bit hard because some humility may be needed, you may need to be honest with other people that you weren't as far along as you thought you were a few months ago and that you needed to make some changes, that could be very hard in a lot of ways. But this can also be difficult too because there is a sense of realism about Virgo. Virgo is an earth sign. Again, it's very critical because it wants to get to what will actually work. So there's also a bit of a difficulty here. Not only are we having to speak more openly to other people about what we've been going through privately over the course of the past few months, that's been really a deep transformation within our soul, which may require us to be humble. But I think we're also having to be a bit more realistic too with ourselves and with other people about what's going on and about what we are creating next or what we want to create next and about how everything's going to come together. We're having to be a bit more practical and realistic so that we don't get ourselves in the same situations that we got ourselves in before, and so that we can make sure that everything is going to work and to come together. So that could be a part of a challenge here, which I suppose with Mercury, and Cancer making a trine to Neptune and Pisces with the Neptune influence could be a little bit confusing at first, confusing. Like, I don't want to have to humble myself and swallow my pride to tell everyone about what has been going on within my soul, and could be a little bit confusing about like, what is real, what is realistic for me, and what is going to work for me from here on out. That could be a little bit confusing there. But even though these can be a little bit difficult, the quincunx to Venus and the trine to Neptune, I think there is a lot of support surrounding those things in order to make them a lot easier than they would be otherwise. That's because at the same time that Venus is in this uncomfortable place in Virgo, it's making an opposition over here to Jupiter and Pisces. And this is a very good thing because Jupiter likes to be in Pisces. It's at the 0 degrees, which is intensifying it a little bit here. And because Venus also really likes Pisces, Venus is exalted in Pisces. It's where it wants to be. So Venus receiving an aspect from Jupiter and Pisces, Venus is like, give me more of that. I want that, wants to be there. So I'm thinking that this is a very helpful thing despite some of that challenge. What is the helpful thing here about that? Well, Jupiter in Pisces is a lot about kindness and is a lot about compassion that we show ourselves and that other people show us. So that's one of the many interpretations of this. So what that means to me is that even though we may have to really humble ourselves in order to continue liberating ourselves from old things and speak more openly to other people about what's been going on, I think we're going to start to ease some of the criticism on our own self so that we can do it. And I think that people are going to be very understanding here and kind and compassionate as well about our own stories as we communicate about them and about what we've been through as well, especially if we do it in a very humble and authentic and transparent, that's also key kind of way. Okay, not only is this a very good alignment for helping us to like ease the criticism on ourselves and on other people and to get more of the courage up here to speak about what's been going on with other people, but I think this is a very helpful alignment too to bring in new energy, new Jupiter energy in regards to Venus, our relationships, our money, and our own sense of self, and our habits and our resources and our routines, and to also bring in new understandings, Jupiter, and new perspectives about it as well. So not only is the opposition to Jupiter going to help us be okay with humbling ourselves and be kinder to ourselves and other people, kinder to us as we share our stories, but it's also going to help us too to forge our way into even more new feelings about our life, new feelings about our relationships, new feelings about our experiences as well, for us to move forward, and not just new feelings, but also new experiences. This is not only going to help us to feel differently about a lot of things in our life, continue to, but to also create different things in our lives from here on out that are going to be more workable for us, more workable with the Virgo influence, more workable in the ways that we need in order for us to move forward. Okay. So I think there's a lot of that, but how, maybe that's another thing I should note, like, how is this going to help us create more workable situations? Okay. It's going to help us create more workable situations because Pisces is a lot about our intuition, especially with Mercury trine Neptune, which correlates to Pisces and is currently in Pisces. It's a lot about our intuition. It's a lot about our spirit. It's a lot about our soul. It's a lot about our emotions. It's a lot about a higher power, you know, with all the water sign stuff going on. So this is not only going to help us just be easier on ourselves to speak about what's going on and to feel differently about our situations and create even better stuff for ourselves from here on out, but it's going to help us create even better situations for ourselves because we're going to be honoring more of our intuition than we were in the past, and more of our true heart's desires and more of our true soul from here on out, in order for us to move on. And sometimes honoring your heart is like the most practical thing you can do, you know, is the most practical, most long lasting, realistic, successful thing you can do in order to bring things together. And I think that's part of what we are learning here in order for us to move forward. And if we can do that, if we can get the kindness and compassion within our souls to be more humble and to communicate more openly about some things and to feel quite differently about our lives and experiences and create even more things that are going to be positive for us, that are in attunement with not only our mind, but especially our heart and soul, I think then we're gonna have better conversations with the Mercury trine Neptune, better conversations here, and I'll get a lot of intuitive spiritual guidance about what our next steps are and how we can bring even more things together over the course of the next few months here that we really like and need in order to have a more complete, like, whole and fulfilling life. Okay. And I think that's it. I think that's all I'm going to say. Because that's it, I'm now just going to repeat all of that one more time. What I think is going on at this full moon in Aquarius here is that we are finally liberating ourselves from a lot of old karmic cycles that have been difficult for quite some time, and really keeping us stuck. Because we are liberating ourselves from a lot of old karmic cycles, our emotions are then getting easier for us to handle in some way, shape, or form. Because our emotions are getting easier for us to handle and we're liberating ourselves, we then are feeling like now it's time to be more open to our friends or to other people that are kind of adjacent to our past life experiences, so that we can more fully explain to them what we've been keeping private and what's been going on within us for quite some time. and to bring things together. And not only is this full moon about us being open to other people kind of outside our experience about what's been going on, but it's also as a result us creating even more things in our lives after this that are more authentic to us in a less complicated fashion. Okay. And I really do like it. It could be a little bit hard for us to do all of those things at first because we could be a little bit hard on ourselves and a little bit critical about what we need to do to liberate ourselves and to speak our truth and to move forward. And because it may require us to be a little bit more humble and vulnerable and transparent than we might like. However, I do believe that we are able to overcome that critical self nature and the problems with pride. We're able to overcome that so that we can more fully express what's been going on in our lives in a more humble and vulnerable way, with more kindness and compassion towards ourselves and others. And so that we can feel even better and even differently about our lives and create even more experiences from here on out that don't just make sense, but that actually really resonate truly with our heart and soul and work for us as we move on. Okay. And that are really going to ignite even more of an intuitive spark, an inner compass, and inner direction from which to move forward. All right. And I think that's it that I want to say. Are there any points that I want to linger on here? I don't know. I feel like I have explained everything well enough. But I guess there's just something that I feel I want to linger on a little bit. And that's in particular, the opening up to other people is about what you've been experiencing over the course of the past few months is like extremely highlighted at this time. Okay, I think over the course of the past few months, we've been going through a really deep personal inner transformation within our soul that's felt very intense, that's felt very emotional, and that's felt very heavy, where we've had to end and begin and change a lot of things in our lives. And I think that really that new moon in Cancer 2 weeks ago marked the end of this intense transformation in some way. And because the intense transformation has now ended, now we can speak more openly to other people with what's been going on. Who are we speaking more openly to at this time? We're not speaking openly to the people that have been directly involved in our situations. I think we've been talking to those people for quite some time to either kick them out of our lives, or to fix things with them. But we're talking to other people who are adjacent to what's been going on, which means around it or next to it, like friends. This could be friends who aren't directly involved in your situation. So maybe some of you have been keeping a lot of things private from friends that you've been dealing with as you've dealt from it. Or it could be just other situations that are like waiting for you on the wings to like resolve some other stuff. It could definitely be something like that. But whoever we're talking to this time, it does not feel directly related. It's someone different, like in case some of you are curious about the people we were working things out with when Mercury went retrograded, that lunar eclipse in Sagittarius, those were people directly involved in your crappy situations you were trying to escape. This feels like someone else, a new energy, a different energy. Or something like other than this other stuff you've been working through. Okay. Why is it important to talk to people? Maybe I should say, why is it important to talk to people outside of your experience that you've been having over the course of the past 6 months about what's been going on deeply within you? Because some of you are probably like, why do I need to tell people? Well, I think, there's just my opinion, that we need to tell people outside of our experience because that's what makes us, like, we're humans, we need relationships, we need interaction, and that's what is going to help to make us feel more free. Like, how can you feel free if you're living a double life, right? How can you feel truly free to be yourself if you've been experiencing something in private, but no one else knows about it, and it's just been like you alone, you on an island. Like, you can be a fine person, but there's something is not going to feel fulfilled. So the reason why I think that this is so highlighted at this time is because we really can't be our authentic self if no one else knows about it, because then a part of us is still hiding our authenticity. So, and still preventing us from reaching the fullness of it. So they go hand in hand. Not only are we liberating ourselves from old things that have been keeping us stuck for many months and years prior, okay, at this time, but we're also communicating about this liberation and about these things we free ourselves from, even if they've been very intense the last few months. And us communicating about the freedom is in helping free ourselves even more to be our authentic self, and then to pursue other things that we also like, want, and need from a more authentic place. Okay, so I wanted to add more color around that, because I don't think that was made entirely clear before. The people we're communicating with now are not people directly involved in your situation. They're someone else. It's someone else next to your situation that you've been kind of ignoring or keeping on the back burner, or just haven't been able to tend to while you've had a lot of other more serious stuff going on to clean up, or things like that. Okay. And it's important for you to speak to them so that you can be more authentic and create even more freedom and authenticity in your life. Okay, now the other point that I want to note as well is the creating of the more authentic life. Okay, once you are speaking more openly to other people about what you've been dealing with, then the next thing I want to clarify is that after that, there's a need to create even more things in your life and get and bring and maneuver with the Venus and Jupiter immutable signs to maneuver even more things in your life that it is that you need to be better and to be more in alignment with your authentic truth now that you're feeling more free. Okay, there's a need for even more of that. Okay, but I want to compare and contrast what you're maneuvering now to get even more things in your life are not going to be quite like it was over the course of the past 6 months, especially, and years. Okay, over the past 6 months, especially, whatever changes we were making to end and begin things still felt somewhat attached to the past. It still felt like slogging through the mud, slogging through these old crappy things that we didn't want to be dealing with, that still hadn't fully escaped. Okay, this is different. What we're about to create now from here, especially until the next solar eclipse in Sagittarius in December, is not going to be tied up with all this baggage of the past. It's going to be something different and a little bit more clear sailing from here on out, without just all this emotional baggage. So I want that to be clear too. Prior to now, December 2020 to July of 2021, we were trying to end and begin things in life and to create a more authentic self, but it was just harder. It was just more complicated. It was more weighted down by old things. Now we're able to do the same thing we were doing before, but with less complications and with more of a clear and free shot for us to move forward in the ways that we need, especially now that the big stuff got taken care of, the foundational stuff got taken care of, you know? And they had to happen in that order. Like, that's another thought too. They had to happen in that order. It's really hard to bring more things into your life that are going to be authentic to you when you're still fighting old demons and still fighting old things. So we had to fight the old stuff and get rid of that before the new stuff, before not the new stuff. We were doing new stuff before, but before we can have a more clear shot at bringing things in an uncomplicated manner. Okay. So it happened this way for a reason, in order for us to kind of bring even more things together in the ways that it is that we need. You know, they're both equally important, I guess you could say. Whatever we were ending and beginning then, and whatever we're about to do over the course of 6 months are both equally important. It's just that, like, this was the first step. Like, all this other stuff that happened, and it just had to happen first, and like, in order for anything else to come together, in order for anything else to work out. You know, it's really hard to build something new that can last while the old is still around. Okay, other things that I want to note as well, yes, about the new things that we're creating, about the new things that we're going to create in the next 6 months that are more uncomplicated. Whatever the new stuff we're creating from here on out is going to be less complicated and is going to be more workable. We need to be more realistic about our truth and about what's going to work for us, and they are going to be more workable. But the point that I want to make sure that you caught from what I was saying before is that what is going to make the things we bring into our life from here on out more realistic and more workable is the honoring the emotions, is the honoring the soul, is honoring the spirit, is honoring the intuition. Okay, that's key. That's key. That is the most realistic, most practical thing you can do at this time from here on out, is to honor your heart. Because what I think has been going on for the past few months and years that got you into this mess you've been trying to clean up for the past 6 months, is that you have not been listening to your heart. Is that a lot of you have not been listening to your heart. You've not been listening to your emotions. You haven't been listening to your soul. So you've gotten yourself in a lot of these situations that looked good on the surface. You know, this relationship looks good on the surface. This job looks good on the surface. This home looks good on the surface. But deep down, you feel horribly unfulfilled in the relationship, in the job, in the home, and not happy there. Okay, that's what got you into all these problems in the past that we've been trying to overcome. So for you to be realistic and practical to create something different in your life from here on out for the next 6 months at least, without honoring your heart and soul, is going to get you into the same problems you've just been trying to escape that weren't right for you. If something looks good but doesn't feel right, it's not a match. It's not a match. It's not for you. It's not 100% for you. So the thing that's going to make, with Venus opposite Jupiter especially, our plans and whatever we do for the next 6 months actually work for us, is for us to honor the emotions more so than we ever have in the past, and give them just as much weight as our intellect, if not more. I think more, but if not more, in order to bring things together. Okay. It's very, very, very important. All right. The reason why I think the honoring of the soul and the emotions is important, in case you're curious about the astrology of it, is definitely a lot of the Cancer stuff. We did just have a new moon in Cancer. Cancer is very emotional. It's about that. And it's the lowest part of the chart that has to do with your private self and your most intimate needs and desires in a lot of ways. We also now have the sun in Leo, which is about your heart and your soul as well. And even Aquarius is about your authentic truth too. So I'm telling you, there's a lot of need for all of this at this time. If you're planning on bringing more things into your life that are going to be better for you, but ignoring your heart and soul, you're going to be severely disappointed, because the things you're going to bring into your life in the next 6 months are going to fail a few months, a few years down the line, or they're still going to feel like the same crappy stuff you've been trying to escape. So be very, very, very aware of that the only way forward, the only way to create something real and long lasting at this time, is by honoring your truth and expressing it, even if it's strange with the Aquarius influence, and even if it's a bit weird, a non-conventional, or off the beaten path, which I guess I haven't talked about enough with the Aquarius influence. But there's also a need for that too. Okay. Anything else that I want to say about this? I think another thing that I want to say as well, perhaps the last point, well, maybe there's 2 other points, is that once you liberate yourself from old things, like, all of this is going to happen naturally. Once you liberate yourself from old things, I think a lot of this is going to happen, naturally. Like, once you drop the baggage of the past and these old people and these old places and these old feelings and these old emotions, then it's going to become a lot easier for you here to speak more openly about what's been going on within you, and to create better situations from here on out that are less complicated, and to honor your heart and soul in the process, and to connect you with different things. So I think that that's another point that I want to make. If some of you are like really stuck of like, how do I do all of this? Focus the most on letting go of the old stuff, liberating yourself from the old stuff first, because that's then going to click a lot of this other stuff into place. Once you liberate yourself from old things, then the emotions are going to get fixed. Then you're not going to care what other people have to say and how you got to say it, and you're going to go easier on yourself. And then you're going to be more free to do whatever else you want to do in order to move forward. So maybe that's a tip for some of you. Don't focus on what you want to create from here on out in the future. That's going to come naturally. That's going to happen easily once you drop all of this baggage of the past and liberate yourself from that. Okay. Another point that I want to make as well is not only is it going to get a lot easier for you to create this other stuff once you drop a lot of this baggage from the past, but that part of the baggage from the past that you're dropping is the valuing the logic over the emotion as well. So my other message for you is like, if you're having trouble with this energy, you need to focus first on letting the past go, because that's going to click everything into place in the ways that it is that you need. And also you need to focus on letting the logic go, letting the over reliance on practicality and on logic. You need to let that go in some way. And once you do both of those, I should have said them together. It's not either or. Once you do both of those, letting go the past and the logic and the sensibility of I have to do the right thing even though my heart's not in it. Once you let go of that, then everything else is going to click and it's going to come together. Okay? Because really with this chapter of our life that we're moving into, especially with Saturn and Aquarius, it's not about doing what you think you should do to fit into society. Like this new chapter in life, especially with the Aquarius influence, is doing things that we truly resonate completely, not just part of the way with ourselves, but 100% with mind, body, spirit, soul, like in order for us to move forward. So you need to drop the logic, because a lot of the logic is stopping you from living your truth and doing the things that it is that you want. That's going to bring all this stuff together. Okay. And once you liberate yourself from old karma and from old issues and old challenges and the logic and the mindset that created it, I think that then you attract a different type of person. And then you just attract different types of things. And I think that's also part of the Venus, the full moon quincunxes Venus. Venus is the feminine principle. It's about receiving. It's about attracting. Venus doesn't go out and get things. It lets things come to them, so, I think that's also a message. Like once you let go, Aquarius is a masculine sign. So once you let go of all this old stuff, then, and all the logic, then it's going to get easier for you to do things, and things are the right things. The right things are just going to naturally be attracted to you at the right time in the right place, as long as you're open to receive, as long as you're open to receive these things, which is another important point. You got to be open to receive, and you may not be open to receive if you're still stuck on this old stuff. Okay. Another point, there is another point that I want to make as well, is that this is just the beginning of a feeling of liberation and of a feeling of freedom and of a feeling of expressing our authentic truth more openly and of connecting with better people, situations, and things in our life that will help us. That's because this is the first full moon out of 2 that's going to be in Aquarius. All right. This full moon is which is what this video is for, is at the beginning degree of Aquarius, 1 degrees, but about a month from now, we're going to have another full moon also in Aquarius, 29 degrees on Jupiter. Okay. Jupiter will be back in Aquarius by then. And it's not too terribly common, I should say, to have full moons in the same sign, like one right after the other. It does happen, and it happens probably more often than not. It doesn't happen more often than not. And it does happen, so it's not like rare, but it's not like super common either. So this is, I think, an indicator of something a little bit significant here that is going on. And not only is this significant because there's 2 full moons in the same sign back to back, but because this full moon is at 1 degree, which is a baby degree. The first degrees of a sign, 0, 1 degrees, are immature. They're new, they're fresh, they don't know how to express the energy, and they're still kind of like growing into their skin. And the last degrees of a sign are more mature. They're masters of like what they're here to do and accomplish. So what that means to me is that whatever we're doing this time period, over the course of the next 4 weeks, I guess, to liberate ourselves from old things and to speak more openly our truth and to create more things that we like and enjoy in a more free, uncomplicated way, still feels a bit, I don't know if this is the word I want to use, but still feels a bit small, still feels a bit tentative, still feels a bit like we're holding back a tad, like we're holding back a tad, especially if that new moon in Cancer, to make sure that we're safe, to make sure that we're safely cleared these old things. We've safely cleared the past, and that these people that we tell things to aren't going to hurt us and hate us and be mean at us. And so that we really can create something else. So that's another small point. But I do want to say that even though we are doing all those things I just said during this time period, I think we are, still holding back just a little bit until that next full moon in Aquarius 4 weeks from now, when we're going to become more masters and be able to stand more in our power and say, yeah, I did break free from these old things. Yeah, this is my truth. Yeah, this is what's going on. Yeah, this is what I want, and before we really own that our voice and our power in that way, the North Node in Gemini, which is kind of close to this full moon in Aquarius, but so I think that's the point there that I want to say. Anything else that I want to add in? I think that's it. Well, yeah, do I want to, maybe I'll just linger on one extra thing about the relationships here. Venus opposite Jupiter. I also want to know, sorry, this is a little bit out of order, but the computer stuff is really frustrating me, kind of messing with my head as I watch things on the screen here. But so it's kind of taking my mind in weird places a little bit while I'm doing this video. But sorry, I'm going a little bit out of order. But a thing I want to say to go back in the relationship part is that I do think that you need to go easy on yourself when it comes to what you've been through and how you express yourself with relationships. That's super, super important. Another important point. And that I do believe people are going to go easy on you, as well. I know that's a thing that I've been saying, over the course of the past few months, because Aquarius is friendly. I mean, Aquarius is the sign of friends, friendship, where Saturn's been, for a long time. So not a long time, I guess like 8 months or six months or so, but I know I've been saying that for a while, that people are going to be friendly, and I don't know. I think that maybe in reality there were kind of mixed results there over the course of the past few months, because we were dealing with like hard things we were trying to escape from, so even if people were friendly over the course of the past 6 months, the situations were still kind of tense. And I think the point I'm trying to get around to here is that there's something less tense. Not that Venus in Virgo is like a beautiful thing, but I think there's something like less tense about the relationships now and about whatever's going on than whatever was going on with relationships over the course of the past 6 or 7 months. Like the relationship stuff over the past 6 or 7, I think overarching was friendly, overarching was more compassionate, but kind of was very tense and had a little bit of ups and downs. And I feel like there's more of a kindness vibe that's going on here as well, especially too, if a lot of these people that you're dealing with this time are outside of your realm of experience over the course of the past few months. Because people that are kind of outside your realm of experience, right? They're like not directly involved in what's been going on. And because they're not directly involved, they're less emotionally attached to like what you have to say and like what you're doing. I mean, they are attached, but they're also not. And so I think that that's another point, like just to compare and contrast the past 6-7 months to now the next 6-7 months here till the next eclipse is that like during both then and over the course of the next 6 months, people really do want to be friendly. People really do want to be amicable. They've been trying over the past 6 months, but it's been hard because things have been so tense and there's been so much karmic and old stuff we've been trying to overcome. So it's been like up and down, even though the trend has been, I think, more positive. In the next 6 months, it's still positive. People still want to be friendly and still want to be amicable, but I think it's going to be in a less tense kind of way and a little bit more free flowing. Like last 6 months felt more stop and go, like stop, go, like a little bit. And I feel like, especially with the people, and I feel like now there's more of a free flowing starting now, but especially the next full moon in Aquarius a month from now, more of a free flowing interaction between you and other people that's going to be better here. Better because the old situations have been taken care of, and now either new people are in your lives or different people are in your lives, and because the people that you are referring to are not super related, but still affectionate and a little bit caring about what you've been dealing with too. So I hope that also helps to compare and contrast here. Okay, another, maybe now I'll give you an example. And before I pull your card, I'm not going to do the inside degrees because I wasn't really super inspired by it. And it's just going to mess up my computer if I bring it up on the screen, my video. So I'm just going to give you an example and then pull your card. I want to give you an example, and I want to give you like an example, I guess, from my personal life, because I know that a lot of you really seem to have resonated with some things I said about my personal life in the past videos. I think you all like that. So I'm just going to do that. And I'm going to go back when I started my business with what's been going on there, because I should note, I am a Saturn conjunct Uranus in my natal chart. I've got Saturn at the last degree, 29 degrees Sagittarius conjunct Uranus, also at 29 degrees. And both Saturn and Uranus are the rulers of Aquarius, where Saturn now is. So I do feel like very strongly connected to Saturn and Aquarius, because I feel like I've been learning a lot of the same themes over my lifetime. So I'm going to go back to that. And I'm going to go back to when I started my business. You know, I do, obviously this is my business. This is how I make a living, is doing astrology, personal readings, and doing these videos on YouTube and like tons of other videos on my website as well. And I started my business at my Saturn return, right? There's a thing that happens 27 to 32 when Saturn returns to the exact same place it was when you were born, which is technically a challenging time. Like 27 to 32 is meant to be a hard time in like most people's lives, to really help you break through patterns and grow up. And when I was about 27, I'm 33 now, so that was like 5 years ago, I started my business. And the way that I started my astrology business was really by building an audience first on YouTube, on the internet. Because my opinion is like, as long as you have an audience, people who like what you have to say, like what you have to offer, then you can monetize it later, right? Then you can figure out how to make money from it in the ways that it is that you needed. So I was really focusing on building an astrology community through YouTube videos. And the reason why I wanted to do that is because I feel like that is really like what is true to me. You know, like I'm a 12th house Sun, Mercury, and Venus and Chiron all in Gemini. And I've got a Mars in Pisces and a North Node in Pisces, which like also kind of correlates to the 12th house. So like my life, like my heart is like spirituality. Like that's like the one thing in my life that like I've always needed, has always been important to me, and like believing in like a higher power and intuition, like that's it. And I felt like in the past in my life, like for most of my life when I was younger, it was just really hard for me to express my sense of intuition and spirituality, because a lot of the people that I were around just like weren't spiritual people. You know, they were more like, how do I put this? Like on the Myers-Briggs, they're sensors. I'm a feeler, I'm an intuitive feeler, and they're the sensor, the sensing, and what's the other word? They're more the sensors. And so it's just been really hard for me. And so I decided I'm going to start my astrology business so that I can like come out as like a spiritual, intuitive person, which is like my heart and soul, which is who I am. And so that I can express that more fully without feeling like I have to hide parts of myself. So that's what I decided to do. But I should note, as I was starting my business, I was also an active member of the Mormon Church, and worked for a newspaper that was owned by the Mormon Church. And a lot of my friends and a lot of my life was around that. And I knew that the Mormon Church would probably have issues with astrology, because a lot of religions do. You know, like my mom's Catholic. I've been in and out of non-denominational Christian churches for a long time before the Mormon Church. So like I knew they would have a problem. Not only that, but I knew that my mom too didn't really want me to start my own business, because she didn't think that it would work and that it was possible to support me financially. And she wanted me to have benefits and do what everyone else does. And so even though I was really trying to start my business in a way that was going to work for me, there were definitely things that were not supportive of that. And so what I ended up doing, I should say, around like the first year of starting my business, it did take about a year and a half or so to build up an audience online. So from about 27 to like 28 and a half, that age, I literally did my whole business in like private. I mean, it wasn't private because it was on the internet and like anyone could see it on YouTube and my face was there, but I didn't tell anyone about it. I literally lived like a double life where I like would go to work and would go to church, and I was a teacher in the Mormon church. I would teach classes, and then I would come home and like moonlight on the side. Like late at night, I would do my astrology and do my videos and do all of that. And like no one knew really that this was going on, except maybe my family. Maybe I told them a little bit, but not too much of like what my plans were with it. And I had one best friend at the time who was like really supportive of everything, who knew. So I think that was it. And I didn't tell a lot of people what I was doing when I was doing it because I didn't want to like ruin it. I didn't want to ruin it. Like my business was so new and the idea was so new and it was so sensitive and special to me that I didn't want to say a lot of things about it and then have my mom knock it down, or have someone like from my church community say like, that's against our beliefs, you can't do that. So especially when I was still kind of working through it myself. So I didn't say anything to really anyone except my best friend until literally I quit my job. I was 29 and a half on the day of my Saturn return, 29 and a half when it came exact. I put in my like 2 months notice. I gave my job some time, but, and then after that, I of course had to tell my bishop, and it was like a whole thing. So I kind of feel like that's what's been going on with us. I feel like I went through if I can be honest with you, this energy that we've been going through for the past 6-7 months hasn't felt super personal to me. I feel like I already went through this like before. So that's why I'm giving you some of this example, but I feel like it relates. Like I feel like for the past 6 months at least, like that's what we've been doing. We've been like building like our something that's more authentic to us, something that's more true to us, like an astrology business, like it is for me, in a lot of ways, but it's been so deeply emotional and deeply personal and so new and so fresh that we haven't wanted to let like other people in on it so that they wouldn't like ruin it, or so that they wouldn't like stop the progress or judge it when we're so sensitive, and then stop it from growing, and because we want, with the Cancer influence, right? We did begin this year in a full moon in Cancer because we wanted to like nurture it and keep it safe and like give it time to grow to like see what it can be before adding things on top. And I feel like what happens at this full moon in Aquarius is that finally like the new chapter in life that's really close to us has reached a certain point where it's grown enough, it's grown strong enough, and where we've now fixed enough things to be in accordance with our soul so that we can let people in, quit our job and tell our bishop and like figure out what's next, and move forward from there. And I can be honest with you, like when I quit my job, like they were very understanding, like because they didn't, one of the whole reasons why I wanted to start my business, because like I had a lot of things with my job that like they made promises to me on that like fell through. So my job was very understanding. They were like, I get it. Like, we know you've been unhappy for a while here. Like, we know it hasn't really been fulfilling you. Like, we're sorry we couldn't be that for you, but like you do you, and I'm proud of you, and like whatever. So my business was fine. The bishop was a whole other thing, and the church situation that was actually kind of challenging, and my friends were great. Like my Mormon friends were like, whatever, so I maybe I was saying that to parallel too. I think most people in your life are going to be pretty understanding. Like maybe it's unrealistic to think everyone will be understanding, but I do think that most people that you let in now are going to be pretty understanding as to what you've been going through and what you've been experiencing. And another point I should note to parallel with my personal experience is that like there's more to be done. So like once I finally built my business up enough to quit my job and to let more people in, which was like 10,000, I needed like 10,000 subscribers is what I really wanted to get to on YouTube. Then like the real work began. Like not the real work, like I was already doing real work, but then there was like still more work to do, because after I built my following up enough to quit my job and to tell other people, then I actually had to keep with the business, you know, and to figure out how to make money from it. I really hadn't mastered that part, but I took the risk and I had to figure out how to make money and how to get a routine, like having clients and filming all these videos. So there was still more work that I needed to do to be more authentic and to build my business even more. But I had gotten on the right trajectory in order to do that. So that's another way, like, to draw another parallel here of like what's going on. It's like kind of weird because it's my story and my experience, but the same way I feel like it does relate. Like, we've been working on something in private over the course of the past 6 months, really deep, really personal, really important to us to help us be more authentic. We haven't been letting a lot of people in because we've been fixing a lot of old things and we didn't want to ruin what we were building while we were building it. And we wanted to protect it. And now we've gotten enough of a foundation with what we've been building so that we can feel more free and we can let more people in and we can be more open, and we are doing that, and most people are being pretty open and accepting and kind of what we've been through. That's very positive. And not only are most people being very kind and accepting of what we've been through, but now we've got even more work to do, right, to continue on, like, making even more things that we need to be more authentic, but without some of the stress of the past and of what we've been working through and of whether or not what we've been working through is going to work or not. Because that's another reason why we may have been quiet before. Like, we may have been quiet about what we've been working through before this time period, not only because what we've been doing was so deep and we wanted to protect it, but also because we didn't know if it was going to work or not. We didn't know, like, am I really going to be able to get out of this? Am I really going to be able to start my business? Am I really going to be able to grow an audience or not? And we didn't want to get people's hopes up outside of our situations without knowing for sure. So I think there's just a lot of that is going on there at this time. Okay. That I want to mention. Any other notes? Any other notes there? Yeah. I like, sorry to keep on with my personal experiences, but I do think that changed a lot, you know, that me finally stepping into something that was more authentic to me and revealing it more openly to, like, my friend group, and then creating even more of that changed so much of my relationship dynamics and how I feel about life just naturally. It changed a lot of that because now I was living more from my truth and doing something more authentic to me, and that naturally is going to attract more of the right people to you and the ways that you need. So starting my business really has totally changed a lot of the types of people that I connect with and how I connect with them as well, which is bringing in a lot of people like you, which is nice. So I also wanted to note that once you start to live in your authentic truth, you attract different things, and you start to attract different things that are more meant for you, which is why there's a need to open up about it. There. Okay. And maybe that's all that I'll mention at the moment. Let me pull your card and see if there's anything else that comes. Okay. Yeah, I think that's it. You know, maybe there's another thing I should have noted about that too, you know, especially with the Saturn Aquarius. And I've met with like a few people, more people this week to give readings to that have had Saturn and Aquarius, which are how old? That would make you like 20, 28, 29, 30, 31. Maybe 31's a bit too old to be Saturn and Aquarius, but it would make you like 28, 29, 30. I've met with like a lot of people around those ages this week to talk about their Saturn returns. Of course, they've got me like very reflective about like my Saturn return, which really wasn't too long ago since we're around the same age and what happened, but it's been super interesting. Yeah. I think, and that's the point I was trying to make. What's super interesting is that before I started my business, like my life was good. You know, like before I started my business, I really loved the Mormon church, and they really were nice to me and respected me and put me in a lot of positions of leadership. You know, I held a lot of leadership positions especially where I would teach and speak in front of large groups of people when I was in the Mormon church. And I really liked my job there. I think that the time that I was like right before I started my business, I think was some of the most content I've ever been in my entire life. And I lived in Salt Lake City, and I loved living in Salt Lake City. And I had a best friend that I'd been friends with for like 5 years, who was a boy who like really like appreciated me and was so nice to me. And I must admit, it was really weird when I started my own business, because like a few of the people that saw it, whether I said it or not, were like, "What are you doing?" They were like, "You have a great life. Like you have a great life. Like you have like a good job that pays well, that doesn't demand a lot of work for you. Like you are so respected in your community and in the Mormon church, and you have this great guy that like is your best friend who would like marry you in a heartbeat. Like, why are you fucking this up?" You know, like there's a part of me too that was like, why am I like letting all this good stuff go for what, my astrology business, to do astrology? Like astrology is weird, A, and like B, like having your own business is like a huge struggle. And C, like I'm going to be alone. I'm alone all the time now. So I think that was like a whole other thing for me too that came up at my Saturn return, was like, oh my goodness, I'm leaving all these good things to do this other stuff. But the whole point was like these other things that I was in, they only were part of me. They didn't fulfill all of me. Like they only fulfilled part of who I really was. And there was something missing. There was something missing. And I knew it from all those things, which is why I did that to get here. And I feel like a lot of you are on very similar trajectories because of the Saturn Aquarius, right? Correlating to my Saturn conjunct Uranus in Sagittarius, where the eclipses have been. You know, I think a lot of people, maybe now just to close that out and pull your card, I think a lot of you all, what's been going on is that over the course of the past like 2 or 3 years, you know, you've gotten into a lot of situations in your life that look good, you know, and that are fine, you know, and that you really do like in some way, but that something deep within you is missing. And so you've gone on this big process now to release a lot of these old stuff that looks good, but is missing something to actually get what it is that you truly want and desire. And that process has been good in a lot of ways, but very deep and very, very intense and very emotional. That's been hard to talk about with other people, and that you've been keeping private to see if it'll grow and to keep it safe. And now the stuff that you've been working towards that's more authentic to you is getting stronger, finally, and more solid. You're now this time able to more openly let people in on the process of what you're creating, so that what's inside can be mirrored outside, and then to create even more things that make you even more authentic, live a more authentic life from here on out, and to attract more of those things more easily to you as well. So I hope that helps. Now your card for this time period is the Queen of Cups reversed. The Queen of Cups to me is about emotions, cups, flowing. Queens are the feminine principle. And when it's reversed, to me, it indicates like there's a blockage within the emotions, something stopping the emotions from flowing during this time period. That could be a bit hard here. What is stopping the emotions from flowing? I think it's this character, the Two of Wands reversed. The Two of Wands here is kind of confusion about your future and about your next steps and about your next path. And I think the way that I feel is that some of you may be going about it all wrong. You know, this isn't about, at least not now, this isn't about thinking about your future and getting your future planned and then the emotions will flow. This is the opposite, okay? Some of you right now need to let your emotions flow, and then the answers about the future will come in order to move forward here, taking you out of these hard times and moving on. Okay, I think that's what the card is trying to say here, you know, and freedom, you know, the liberation, right? Aquarius is about liberating ourselves from things. What is emotional freedom? You know, what is emotional freedom, right? Is emotional freedom not having emotions? Is emotional freedom having healthier emotions? Is emotional, like, you know, I think that's the line of thinking that this gets me on. I think there is something about this full moon in Aquarius that is about calming the emotions, but calming the emotions doesn't mean not having them. It means, I think, being more open to go with them, and in some ways. So I think that that's the last note that I want to leave you on. Like, your emotions, especially after a new moon in Cancer, really do hold the key here. And if you're stuck, if you're stuck and confused about your next steps, that's why. It's because you're ignoring a really integral part of yourself, which is the feelings, and that you need to create space for those to flow more and to honor those more. Okay, how do you create space for your emotions to flow? Well, you do things that make you feel good. I mean, that's really what it is. You do things that make you feel good, you know, whether that's dancing or sleeping or taking a bath or eating good food. Like, I mean, it could be anything, you know, you just do things that help you to feel good and safe and go with that. And I think that's what a lot of you are missing. And I think that's what a lot of you are needed. I did already kind of say that earlier, but I guess here it is again. You know, you got to let the emotions flow. And with the Five of Pentacles, at the bottom of the deck, you got to stop thinking that like everything is bad or going to be bad, and you have to let more of the good feelings come in so you can move forward. All right, so that's it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that this was helpful for you. I'm sorry about my technical difficulties. I'm going to try to get it fixed this weekend, but who knows, I might have to buy a whole bunch of new stuff. So full moon in Aquarius is going to be in my 8th house, so I guess it's time for a big financial investment on technology to occur. But wish me luck on that, and I will see you soon. I hope you have a good time period, and I'll talk to you on the next video. Like this video and subscribe and share with your friends if you enjoyed it. See you soon.